Hey, I'm going on Facebook a little early today, even though it's not quite 12 o'clock, because I thought, well, if I don't get on, I can regroup and try it again. But of course, I did get on. So if you're on with me today, welcome. I appreciate you coming. Tell me where you're from. And we're going to talk about the topic today, give yourself grace in the face of divorce. So how do you give yourself grace when you're going through separation and divorce, when you're pretty good at beating yourself up, being critical of yourself? Because during that stage of your life, there's usually plenty of people who are critical of you and beating yourself up. And if we're not careful, we can repeat the things that we hear others say about us, especially during the time our marriage has been shattered and we're trying to regroup and rebuild. We don't want to repeat what our people are already condemning. Hey, Betty, I'm on. Isn't this a miracle? And it's great to see you. So Betty's here from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Betty, how's the weather there? I know you were supposed to have some bad weather. So let's get started. How do you give yourself grace in the face of divorce? Well, I'm going to talk about 5 different ways you can do this, but I want you to recognize that there is a great deal of research showing that when we're compassionate to ourselves, when we're caring of ourselves, not being critical, not beating ourselves up, when we give ourselves a break, so to speak, we're going to experience better health. It will help us promote our relationships. It will build our confidence, and it will enable us to be more resilient, to bounce back after troubling times. So that's pretty interesting. So that's a good reason to really look at the issue and ask yourself, well, how compassionate of yourself are you? Because what's interesting, most of us as women are not very self-caring, but we are usually very caring and compassionate to other people. And what I find out in my work with women rebuilding after divorce or separation, that women who are going through a divorce are especially high in condemning themselves. They're probably in the top 5 groups of people who are beating themselves up. So, what can you do to promote self-compassion? Well, the first thing is to just be aware of it and recognize self-awareness. Recognize when you're beating yourself up. Because we all make mistakes. We all handle arguments or situations at times in a way we would not want to. But we have to remember, instead of beating ourselves up, in Romans 8:1, Christ says, there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. So why are we putting ourselves, or why are you putting yourself higher than Christ? If he's not condemning you, why do you condemn yourself and beat yourself up? So when you find yourself at that place, what do? Well, Hebrews 4:8 says, let us come boldly to God's throne of grace. You know, admit what you did that you feel guilty about or you wish you would have done differently, and ask for forgiveness. Learn from it. What can you do differently the next time? Instead of, being down on yourself, how can you use this as an opportunity to grow and do something differently? So recognize, be self-aware when you are condemning yourself. And then the next one is remember who does constantly accuse you and condemn you. In Revelations 12, we're told that Satan is the accuser of the brethren. He's always going before God and telling him of our mistakes and sins. because he doesn't want us to get the grace that God so graciously gives to us. And probably even more importantly, he doesn't want us to believe that God will forgive us and give us the grace. So why join Satan? You know, life's tough enough. So why are we joining Satan in how he's trying to discourage us and destroy us? So the first step is be self-aware, recognize when you're condemning yourself, then also recognize who's accusing you, and don't join that team. You want to be on the team that builds yourself up and builds up your self-confidence. Then the third idea is, and I thought this was interesting, this was from Kristen Ness, who's written on self-compassion, and she says, write a letter from the compassionate part of yourself to the critical part of yourself. And if that's hard for you to do, if you think, well, I don't know that I could really write a letter to myself being very kind and gentle. So if that's hard, then write a letter to somebody else who's struggling with all the issues you are during divorce and separation. And then when you're finished, put the letter aside for a while, maybe a day or so, get it back out and put your name at the top rather than whomever you wrote it the letter to. So it's another way of, here we are, kind and compassionate to others. How can we flip that around and use that ability to be gentle with ourselves? So the fourth thing you can do to build up your self-compassion is ask yourself these questions. And they're taken from the book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. So instead of asking yourself, when you do something you regret or you wish you wouldn't have said, instead of saying, what's wrong with me? You know, I don't have any worth or value. I'm stupid. And all the things that, you know, beat us down. Ask yourself these questions. Well, what did I do that was right? What, can I learn from this? How can I grow? What do I want to do differently next time? Use that phrase. Next time I'm going to. So take the questions that you're telling yourself and just flip it to more positive. What do I want to learn from this? What did I do right? And be aware of the positive attributes you have. And many times I'll have my clients, hi Shireen, glad you came on board here. Many times I'll have my clients, if they can't think of anything positive about themselves to be kind and uplifting, I'll have them ask the people closest to them. And it's always amazing, I'll have them ask maybe 2 or 3 people, how the people who come back often overlap in what they tell them. So you might hear, you're very kind and caring to others. You have the ability to focus on a goal and stay focused on it. Or you have the ability to bring strangers together and bring that lighthearted humor to people when life is tough. Or maybe you're just so easygoing and you bring all the other personalities down. So as you're thinking about it, the questions, what did you do right? Since you're fearfully and wonderfully made, what are the traits that God's given you that help you lift yourself up? And then finally, this last suggestion, and I think it's sort of interesting. It's nothing I ever thought about. And I'm not sure it works for me, but I recently had a friend who's been reading a book on self-compassion. And apparently that our bodies don't know the difference when we're hugging ourselves versus when somebody else is hugging us. That it can be soothing, that we can hug a pillow or find another way. Now, maybe our bodies don't know, but I keep thinking, but don't I know? I'm hugging myself. But I guess it is. If it works for you, and she said it worked for her, that is something you may want to consider. So to repeat and summarize, here's 5 things you do. Because right now, the reason for this Rebuild this Facebook Live, this Facebook Live today is to just make you aware of how we are critical of ourselves versus being kind to others. Make you aware of how you can stop that down, beating yourself up. And so, as I said, recognize when you are stuck in self-condemnation. Remember that Christ does not condemn you, and you can go boldly to the throne of God. Remember who does constantly accuse you, and it's no use joining that team and that voice that says, trying to destroy you, discourage you, and keep you down. And then the third thing is write a caring letter to yourself. And if that's hard, write a caring letter to somebody else who's struggling with what you're struggling with. And then put it away for a day or two and come back and read it, putting your name at the top of the letter. Then ask yourself different questions. And these were from the book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for joining us. So glad to see you. So instead of saying what's wrong with me or how stupid I am or whatever, just say to yourself, well, what did I do right? What do I want to learn from this experience? How can I grow? And then finally, consider hugging yourself. Hug yourself with a pillow, because apparently that can be very self-soothing and be kind and gentle with yourself. But as I said at the very beginning of this Facebook Live, research has shown when we are kind and self-compassionate, it promotes our health, our relationships, it builds our self-confidence, and it promotes our ability to bounce back when life is tough. So if you have any questions right now about self-compassion, or what have you found to work when you find yourself being really critical of yourself? What have you found to build up your confidence and to be kinder to yourself? Anybody have any ideas? Or any questions? Well, as you're thinking about it, I am wrapping up this Facebook Live earlier today because today's the last day to sign up for Rebuild After Divorce. And Rebuild After Divorce is a coaching group for women who are separated or dealing with a shattered marriage. And so it's a group of women, all in the same boat, who come together. It's an encouraging group, an uplifting group, and I lead them through the skills and the tools that will help them rebuild after divorce. And so if that's something you're interested in, or I had posted it earlier and some of you received the email, if you have any questions right now about rebuild after divorce, here's your chance to ask them. So I'll just wait, see if anybody has anything. Either I'm not seeing them or there's no questions. All right. Well, I'm first of all so glad I got on Facebook Live, because I've had a really challenging time the last week. So today everything worked, and I thank you for coming to join me on Rebuild. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at georgiaschaefer.com. If you're interested in Rebuild, again, today's the last day, and go to www.georgiaschaefer.com/rebuild. And remember, Schaefer is spelled Shaffer. Well, Kim, thank you that you joined us, but right now we're wrapping up. But this will be posted so that you can watch it on my Facebook page. So take care. I hope you all have not only a great day, but a great week. I know some of you they're expecting bad weather, so stay safe. And if you're in a cold climate like I am in Pennsylvania, stay warm. Take care.